could not be more relevant considering the current technological developments and their impact on the global arena. Artificial intelligence is no longer an abstract or futuristic concept. It is shaping the way we learn, communicate, govern, and even tackle some of the world's most pressing challenges. But as much as AI promises, it also poses important questions. How do we ensure that its benefits are equally distributed? How do we safeguard trust, transparency, and ethics in its deployment? And crucially, how do we make sure that young people, the innovators of tomorrow, are not left behind in this transformation? This event is important because it situates AI within the broader agenda of access to information, a core foundation of UNESCO and a pillar of the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. Access to information is not simply about connectivity or technology. It is about empowerment, accountability, and opportunity. AI has the potential to accelerate these goals, but only if it is inclusive, transparent, and trusted. In Zimbabwe, we face a dual imperative: the urgent need to address access to information for all and the necessity of empowering our youth with the skills and tools necessary to thrive in a digital era. AI can support more accurate modeling, improve early warning systems, and enhance communication. At the same time, AI can also transform education, expand access to knowledge, and open new pathways for civic engagement. However, this requires policies and practices that are inclusive and that actively involve young voices. I want to highlight the significance of youth participation. The involvement of students and young professionals in this event is essential. It is their creativity and innovation and sense of responsibility that will drive the next phase of AI development in our country, our region, and the world at large. As the Zimbabwe National Commission for UNESCO, we are committed to creating platforms where young people can contribute to shaping ethical, sustainable, and inclusive AI policies. Maybe we can actually think of a network of young innovators, young professionals for the development of AI in our country. Maybe that is food for thought. We are also mindful of the risks. AI systems, if left unchecked, can perpetuate biases, deepen inequalities, and erode trust in information systems. That is why UNESCO's global frameworks, including the recommendation on the ethics of artificial intelligence, adopted by member states, must guide our efforts. By localizing these principles, we can ensure that AI development in Zimbabwe respects human rights, cultural diversity, and the right to information. And actually, for your information, UNESCO holds its general conference every 2 years. It is the highest decision-making body within UNESCO, that is the general conference. And the next general conference is actually starting at the end of next month. One of the items on the agenda, we are seeking member states to adopt a new recommendation on the ethics of neurotechnology, which I think is an offshoot of AI. Maybe when we come back from that general conference, and if it's adopted, of course, we can then share with the wider community to see how best Zimbabwe can implement that new recommendation on the ethics of neurotechnology. And I'm sure that the young minds in this country, I think they will be the best minds to actually guide us. You know, I've always said to myself, UNESCO says prioritize youth. Of course, they are not the global priority. Prioritize youth. But I always say, what can they tell us? But with AI and all these new technologies, I've realized that the youth are miles ahead of us. We are still using some technology that is maybe 2 decades old when we are way ahead of us with these new digital technologies. I now respect the youth. Let today's discussion serve as a call to action for policymakers to embrace inclusive governance of AI, for academia and innovators to prioritize ethical and climate-conscious applications, for the civil society to keep raising awareness on how technology intersects with rights and access, and for citizens to be an incentive to broaden your knowledge about AI. Through a multi-stakeholder approach, we can shape an AI ecosystem in our country that is both technically advanced and socially responsible, environmentally sustainable, and expert-driven. I thank the UNESCO Regional Office for Southern Africa for convening this important dialogue, the panelists for sharing their expertise, and the youth for bringing their energy and vision. May today's exchange inspire concrete recommendations that will strengthen our contribution to building a more inclusive digital future. I'm actually hoping that what is coming out of today's dialogue, we can take it when we are discussing the recommendation on the ethics of neurotechnology. So if you haven't been thinking about it, think about it now, so that by the end of the day, we'll have some recommendations that we can also put into our folder as we go for the UNESCO General Conference. Ngiyabonga. Thank you. Merci. Ndatenda.
Once more again, please, let's just give you a round of applause. So very soon I'll be taking just random questions to make sure that you guys are just following and paying attention. So I'll ask you exactly some of the very rich things he has been saying, if at all we've been listening. So I think I'm just trying to get your attention right there. All right, so just moving on with the program, we are going to go straight to our welcome remarks, which are going to be done by Miss Nisha, who is the Regional Director with the UNESCO Regional Office for Southern Africa, UNESCO ROSCA. Let's give you one more round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning. How are we today? Only a few voices say we are good. Are we confounded by all these terms? No? The young ones are being very serious and saying no. So let's keep it a conversation that's moving from where Madam Chirapa left us, and keep it informal, friendly, so we can have a dialogue. My task is always to welcome, but today I felt it is appropriate that the Secretary General of the National Commission for UNESCO, which is the national arm of the member state, with one leg in UNESCO and one leg in the government, is straddling 2 worlds at the same time, international and national. It's a delicate balance, but they do so while hosting us in their country, facilitating our work. So indeed, it's the hosts who should be welcoming. So thank you very much for that, my dear friend. So distinguished partners, speakers, friends. I hope we have a balance of young people. I can see middle-aged people, not so many above 50, 60. But I will represent that community. And my colleagues. You are, of course, welcome to this program, to UNESCO premises, which is offered to us by the government and people of Zimbabwe, so it is your home. And I must say we feel fairly welcomed in this home. And having the host as the guest is indeed a privilege. So when we talk about artificial intelligence, even today, it still sounds like something from sci-fi films. You know, a lot of conversation around algorithms, big data, new frontier technologies like the one RSG mentioned, you know, neurotechnology. In the past, we worked on nanotechnology. No. So these are continuously emerging words. Some you can see in very old films, reference to them, and they are becoming a reality now. But with all these words flying around us, we need to remember that these words, no matter how they are real for you, including I'm looking at the young people who are sitting in urban privileged area, and I'm saying each word with stress, to remember that this us does not include all. AI is not in everybody's physical environment because we have already missed the inclusion bus. You know the school buses that picks up students from different bus stops, brings them to school. But this bus missed many stops and ran to the school. So, the reason is a crucial question to explore. Why did it happen? Because we thought AI is about only technology, tools, infrastructure, machines, algorithms, data sets. We forgot that AI is about people and this planet too. In other words, we have not done well to use AI and AI tools to include people, to improve education, health, to broaden our cultures and livelihoods, especially for those who have been left behind for too long, minorities, indigenous communities, people with disabilities, rural and urban poor. Harare has many faces. And one of the faces, those of us who live in these areas do not see often, is the one on the outskirts. Not the affluent suburban outskirts, but on the other side, west, south, further down east. So let's be honest. Sometimes those of us sitting in air-conditioned rooms, high-speed Wi-Fi, we forget that reality is not the same everywhere. It is not a reality for all, not a reality for all provinces, not a reality for all countries. AI strategy that can't work in a village with patchy network, no to limited electricity, then maybe is not a strategy, because it has missed many elements of what a strategy should build upon, must do to operationalize itself. So when a strategy lacks those tools or steps, it is a wish list without overlapping technological, human, and environmental needs and requirements being considered. In Zimbabwe, we have seen this, and that's why I have urged everyone that we need to be honest. So we take our realities into account. There is no one reality. Your reality is different from mine. My reality is different for somebody who is cleaning the street. So let's keep in mind these realities. UNESCO has been working closely with the government on the national AI strategy, and it's heartening to see the emphasis on inclusion, ethics, and local capacity. Because it's not just about having the latest technology in Zimbabwe, it's about having an inclusive and accessible development mindset among planners, government officials, and ourselves who influence these processes. It is my sincerest wish that the National AI Strategy keeps equity, inclusion, and ethics in center, because AI is about whether a Tonga-speaking girl or a woman in Siaboa, in Cesarera, or Cesarera, I may be mispronouncing it. Thank you. An elderly woman or man in Nkai, in Matabeleland, North Province, or a person with a disability in this province or in Matabeleland South or Midlands can actually access and benefit from it. Let's be honest, AI will only work for communities if they have access and trust in it. It was stressed by our Secretary General. And trust doesn't come from equipment. It comes from transparency, accountability, and usefulness. I gather one of the speakers, Mr. Jonathan Gandhari's work on media literacy and tackling misinformation, is something that we can refer also as an effort to align Zimbabwe's processes with UNESCO's Global Ethics for AI framework. The Cyber and Data Protection Act, in my view, then forms a useful basis, not the result itself, useful basis for start taking the steps to protect vulnerable groups online. We must not forget that there is an issue of language. Southern Africa broadly is rich in languages. But if AI only speaks English and French, many of us in our homes are becoming now forgetting to speak our mother tongues, and we are beginning to be monolingual. That's a dangerous trend. If AI speaks only English, French, German, Spanish, Italian, or what's called the international languages, we are excluding millions. Let's stress, we are excluding millions. I'm hopeful that Ms. Nancy Kwangwa's work, which reminds us how vital community-based knowledge systems are, will be discussed well today. UNESCO's Social Media for Peace project also shows that when youth create content in their own languages, not the gibberish chat messages languages that all of you use these days, which are very hard to understand even for young people who are not from your group. But your mother tongues, it will build resilience for your communities. And let's not forget people with disabilities, persons with disabilities, children with disabilities, and elderly. I'm mentioning elderly because it's a community which is dominating part of our population, but we are so obsessed with certain groups. It's easier for us to focus, so we focus only on certain groups, that we forget that if we leave one group from population demography, the other group will get excluded. So let's not forget the elderly who, due to their age, due to non-practice, do not have functional reading, writing, computing skills. AI must therefore be designed to be accessible from the start, whether through screen readers, voice interfaces, or local language modules, including the sign languages, understanding of the sign languages. Finally, AI reflects the world. It's built in. You will hear a lot about it from my colleague Alamin. He keeps criticizing the imported AI models. Rightly so. In Zimbabwe, many still lack internet. Mobile technology has good penetration across Zimbabwe, but not in, let's say, Matabeleland North, or the poorest place that I mentioned, in Kai. Still, it has good penetration. And still, not everybody has access to internet. Both are truths, both are facts. Sometimes because of electricity, sometimes due to devices, sometimes because these technologies are so hard to decipher for everyone. Gender gaps, disability exclusion, and informal livelihoods all shape who benefits. Somebody who has to stand in the street to get a daily wage job, be picked up by a truck that is passing by which needs a labor, doesn't have the luxury of surfing internet. So that's why I'm hoping that work of our third speaker, Ms. Tendai Masunda Zengani, who is mentoring young women, will remain important and will make an impact in making AI accessible to all. In other words, we have made progress, but there's still more to do. We need to build AI literacy for everyone, young and old. Let's not be fazed by dominance of young people or dominance of elderly. Both are needed for this society to remain balanced. Using local languages and examples that make sense in our daily life, communities, therefore, must be part of designing these systems that solve their real problems. And our real problems in Zimbabwe are linked to climate change, gender equality, youth empowerment, elderly productivity and empowerment as well, disability inclusion, online safety, reducing income inequality and poverty. We need to connect national policies with regional efforts as well, because AI, unfortunately, doesn't respect countries' boundaries. It doesn't respect national governance systems. It's a truly international omniglot. You know the concept of omniglot. So, most importantly, we need to make sure that when we are talking about development of AI and AI systems, we are ensuring that it is grounded in realities and needs of people. And one of the foremost needs of people in this country is need for a sustainable livelihood, clean water, biodiversity, and I'm urging you to go out of the machine and algorithm mindset, so you start working on AI tools that will solve these problems, that will contribute to making our lives better. So from UNESCO's point of view, it's important that we listen, include and co-create, so AI can be a tool for everyone. And in the last satellite AI4IA event, which was for South Africa and also Southern Africa, I gave an example that we should be able to say, when a tiny tot somewhere in a rural village who hasn't seen a computer in their lives asks what AI is, we should be able to say all inclusive. Not artificial intelligence, because that intelligence is being built by our minds. It is not artificial, it is real. So let's this reality speak and serve all. Thank you very much.
We thank you so much to our regional director, Miss Nisha. Once more again, ladies and gentlemen, let's just give you a round of applause. Very important issues that you have been raising there in terms of how prepared and how ready we are to actually adopt and implement various AI strategies. I've been following through a very interesting conversation where someone actually said that we are not yet ready to fully embrace these various AI advantages if we are not yet building and doing a lot in terms of infrastructure development. He speaks of a very interesting terminology where he says that there's going to be a very big difference between digitalization, digitization, and digitalization uptake. I followed this with a very interesting conversation with great interest, because it speaks on how different African countries should actually migrate and utilize these various AI strategies and technologies in terms of how prepared are we, where are we in terms of infrastructure development, and how much have we actually adopted AI within our various infrastructure, and more importantly, if we manage to get to a stage where we've allowed AI, automation, and various technological devices to literally take over, then we can now start speaking of a fully enabled AI environment. We do thank you so much. I think this speaks and reflects a lot into these very key and important issues. The next stage, we are going to be going into a video that we are going to be watching by Mr. Caldwell Green, the chairperson of the UNESCO FAP Working Group on the Information and Accessibility. So I think we're just going to be turning straight to the screen as we have a conversation as far as that issue is concerned. Thank you.
Hello and welcome. I'm pleased to join you for this satellite event, one of 9
Let's just give me a round of applause. All right, we'll skip straight to the presentation of the Heritage School students, which is going to be led to us by Miss Ropafadzo Makaza. Thank you so much, ma'am. Please give you a warm round of applause. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. It is an honor to be amongst the great minds who are gathered here today. Minds who all share the same vision, the same goals, that is to see AI being implemented so as to widen the accessibility of information around the globe. As from, I would say, 2023 to up to today, we have seen an impressive surge in the adoption and the development of AI tools, such that I would like to believe that most internet users have had the opportunity to interact with an conversational AI tool, such that AI is no longer just a buzzword, but it is a reality and it is a solution. Today, I am happy to be here with a group from the Heritage School, part of our Coding and Robotics Club. These are students who have been working hard. They've been putting in their all towards the technology. So this group, they will spend their break time, their lunch time, they will spare it in the lab just to debug the code and get it working. And I think that is what makes the great programmers great, working on it until it works. So I'm excited with what the future holds for this group of this young team. I myself, I only got to write my first lines of code in my first year of my undergraduate degree to develop my first program. So I'm thinking of these 14, 15, 16-year-olds who have already started doing so much in the field of AI. What more can they achieve? So I always tell my students that I teach you so that you can be better than I am, develop better algorithms that I have developed. And please allow me to say, I think with this group in particular, I have done just that. And I believe that the future of technology and AI is absolutely in safe hands. These youngsters, they are not only following the TikTok trends, but they are following the trends in the artificial intelligence field. And I think that's what makes them a promising team. So what is our plea today as the youth? Our plea is support us, encourage us, nurture us, so that we can change the narrative on Africa, so that at the end of the day, Africa does not just stand as the consumers of artificial intelligence, but we want to be on the forefront, develop those large language models so that we can customize them according to, just like what Ms. Nisha highlighted. We want to customize them, we want to tailor-make them so that they can fit the African society and the reality of the problems that we face as Africa. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ropafadzo Makaza. We do appreciate that and the great work that you're doing as far as making sure that you push and drive our various students there. Thank you for that foundational values that you are bestowing. Much appreciated. We're going to move straight to the youth representative on the intervention as far as they are concerned within the AI. I think I've got Mr. Yusuf Ari, correct? Yes, where do I look at? All right. Please, let's give this young gentleman a round warm.
I think my team and I will all speak. So, yeah, should you stand up or for the presentation?
Okay, look around this room. We are surrounded by some of the brightest minds on the planet. For decades, we've been building, building models, building systems, building the very foundations of an intelligent future. But in our race to build, have we stopped to listen? Because this digital world that we have created, it's stunning, a vast and shimmering cathedral of information. So, a cathedral that is right here in this digital world that we have created has had very few doors for a very, very long time. We often call AI a key, but a key is only useful if it fits a lock. And today, the real lock is the knowledge itself.
We are drowning in data, and yet somehow some of us are still thirsty for understanding. And that, my friends, is the dilemma of this digital age. We have an ocean of information, yet only a small canal to cross it, and yet still so many are thirsty for understanding.
Now, I hope you're all feeling algorithmically agreeable because we're about to dive into a topic that will reshape how humans think, work, and interact. Let's be honest, we've been co-piloting with AI for years. That show Netflix suggested AI. That route Google Maps rerouted you to go through to avoid traffic, AI. Let me get to the point. AI is no longer just sci-fi. It's not a far-off future. It's here, it's working, and it's ordinary, but in the best way.
Once upon a time, you would hear knowledge is power. But these days, too much knowledge is kind of exhausting. Let me paint a familiar picture. You want to search a simple question, say, how to lower my blood pressure naturally. 5 minutes later, you find you have 20 open tabs, 3 contradictory articles, 1 wellness blog trying to sell you seafood, or you find yourself searching about penguins in Argentina.
Search engines give you links, but AI gives you answers. But better, as it gives you in a human and more understandable way. When AI gives you answers, it gives you in plain and simple English. It doesn't sound like a legal document, but a person, a smart, friendly person who doesn't mind repeating themselves if you ask again.
Maybe it's 2 a.m. and you're finishing up an assignment of that one strict professor. You know yourselves. You can ask AI to read or even rewrite it to make you sound more polite, more assertive, or less passive aggressive. And it will. No shame, no judgment, but depends on the day. It's like having a chef, a doctor, a translator, a tutor, and a patient tech support rep all rolled into one. And none of them are ever on lunch break. AI is something that I feel like most people would worry about now. Now, should we worry? Well, when most people hear AI, they worry. Is it taking over? Is it listening to us? Is it going to start writing better jokes than we can? No, let me assure you, AI isn't here to replace people. It's here to assist us. Now, think of it like a hearing aid. It doesn't do the listening for you, it just makes you hear more clearer. Or let's say like reading glasses. It doesn't do the reading for you, but it just makes it easier. AI won't judge your spelling, it won't roll its eyes, and it definitely won't make you sound like you're not tech savvy. In fact, it's probably the most patient teacher I've ever invented.
Knowledge isn't about knowing everything. It's about knowing how to find what matters where it matters. So, basically, this AI that our digital world has, right? We need to know that AI gives us access, it gives us speed, and most importantly, it gives us clarity, which is something that has been in very short supply for a very long time. But I want you to remember this. AI is only a key. We are the ones that choose which doors we want to open with it.
Now you must be wondering, did we use AI to write this? Well, to answer you, I have a simple word. Absolutely yes. Now, if you liked it, please give all the credit to the algorithm. And if it was a complete disaster, that was all us. We may not have asked the right questions. Yeah. The only thing we couldn't figure out is how to end this with a really great joke. So, I'll leave you with this. Why did the AI get promoted? Because it always followed up.
Thank you for listening.
Today, I stand before you with immense pride. We, as the youth of our school's Coding and Robotics Club, have managed to achieve something truly extraordinary. Through our dedication and hard work, we managed to come first at the first Lego League Zimbabwe and achieved gold medals, and were ranked as national champions. We did all this by making a project, right? Our AI solution to tackle sea litter. Now, alongside that, we made an AI model and traded on Google Colab. And this was YOLO V5. And we made a neural network with over 270 convolutional layers. Now, we're set to represent Zimbabwe at the regional First Lego League at Pretoria, Zimbabwe. I mean, Pretoria, South Africa. Yeah. And this just goes to show you the positive impact that AI really has on the youth and what it can help you with. I mean, even with such big dreams, you can achieve so much. It's really not far. Don't think that it's not far. The sky is just the limit.
Are the robots now done? Okay, thank you. You can sit down. Ladies and gentlemen, we move on to the next part of the program. Can we please have all hands being clapped? Clap. Yes. Thank you so much. I'm the humanized type of the robot. I'm sure some of these guys didn't give me enough language, so I was just trying to reload the program. But much appreciated. One more round of applause to these young gentlemen who are doing great stuff here. All right, moving on to the next very important program is we are going to be breaking into the panel discussion, one that most of us have been very much looking forward to, myself precisely. It's a panel that is going to be led by great men and women who have been doing a lot of work behind the background. These are the people who actually have been working behind the national AI strategy since they started. Just before it's going to be launched, and I'm sure in the next couple of weeks it's going to be officially launched as the national AI strategy. And these are different men and women who have been working day and night to make sure that this event and this document comes to life. Please, let's give them a round of applause as they're about to move to the next slide. Thank you so much. I think I'll start with one man who I have known for a very long time. Some call him doctor, but I call him Baba Teacher. Baba Teacher. Dr. Apanyengwi right there. We have Dr. Apanyengwi. Dr. Apanyengwi is also the current ICT director at the Zimbabwe Council of Higher Education. He's also actively involved in data analytics through Jegesa Insights, a local ICT solutions provider. Before then, he was the ICT director of the University of Zimbabwe, where he's also lectured in computer science and related areas. I was once a student. Do you know that? Please, let's give a round of applause to Dr. Apanyengwi. We have also Dr. Webster Gumindoga. Dr. Webster Gumindoga is a leading hydrologist and researcher from Zimbabwe, with over 15 years of experience in satellite-based water resources modeling, climate impact assessment, and integration of artificial intelligence environmental. He holds a PhD in applied hydrology and water resource modeling from the University of Twente ITC. Please, ladies and gentlemen, let's give him a round of applause as he takes a seat too. We have Dr. Nancy Kwangwa, a distinguished information and knowledge management professional dedicated to advancing digital inclusion, AI literacy, media and information literacy, and equitable access to information. She currently serves as the Deputy Librarian at the Women University in Africa. WUA. Please, ladies and gentlemen, another one for the great woman there. Last but not least, we have Dr. Tendai Masunda Zengeni, who is also a researcher. She has 9 years international journal publication and has attended several academic conferences. She was a recipient of the Erasmus Scholarship from European Union for her postdoctoral studies in the Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering. One more round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Last but not least, yours truly, me. My name is Tonio. Please give me a round of applause. You can text it. Don't mind me roving around. I'm making sure that I've got all pictures of all angles. So, you never get to have this opportunity every time. So, you just have to make sure that you're taking advantage of all of it. Hi, Doug. How are you? I did say teacher. Okay. Okay. Did they pick it? All right, jumping back to the main program, ladies and gentlemen. I'll have Baba teacher. The first time I actually went to the University of Zimbabwe, he taught me Linux programming. That was a long time back, around 2008. So he's not getting gray here for nothing. Some of us who used to be students a long time back, my personal introduction to computing, I did this under his stewardship. So I've got great honor and respect for this man here. Dr. Apanyengwe, how can we take advantage of AI in accessing information for the different age groups that we've got? I know we've got these young guys here. We also have got these old madalas. We've got people who are now saying, is this really real? How are we able to, make sure that we get the best out of it? I think many people want to understand this is the age matrix that comes with AI, serving different communities and ages too.
I'm going to divert a bit from what I thought I was going to say after I saw these young guys here. And I'm going to challenge them first before I give my response. When they spoke about their project and they said they are doing a solution for littering in the sea, I think that's why he then claimed that Pretoria is in Zimbabwe, because the moment he did that, then obviously we also have a sea in Zimbabwe, since South Africa is now part of us. I was actually going to challenge them to say, maybe next time, can you sort out the littering in my suburb first, here in Harare, before you sort out the guys in Natal over there. But yes, no, thank you very much. I think if we look at AI and how it can enable the information access by the different groups, I think they are the ones which you get, the solutions which you get if you Google, or the solutions if you get if you deep seek, but which I am challenging my young sons and daughter here, and all the other not so young sons and daughters here, to say, when we are talking, let's say in terms of real-time translation as an example, because we want a situation where in Zimbabwe we have got, is it 16 official languages? So we want a situation where if someone is speaking, like the way I am actually doing right now in English, and we want for it to go ahead and get traction with the people who are around us, there is real-time translation, so that someone who is listening in Tonga, or someone who is listening in Debele, someone who is listening in Nyanja, they automatically hear that translation. But what makes it very interesting, I did a bit of research and actually realized that if we look at our languages in Zimbabwe, you realize that English, Ndebele, and Shona, with its various dialects, really cover a significant number of the population in Zimbabwe. And as a result, if we manage to translate into, let's say, Ndebele and Shona, because someone who speaks, let's say, Kalanga, they have got specific understanding, reasonable understanding of Ndebele. So if we start by doing those real-time translations into those languages, then as the robotics clubs also increase to Kwadzana 1, Bumburi Primary School where I went, then we can also now concentrate on the other 16 languages. But not forgetting the sign language is one of the key things. So I mean that real-time translation, I would probably say for now, would be the thing which is very important to go ahead and have. If we were listening, and he challenged us that he might actually ask us a question. If we were listening to the speakers at the beginning, one of the challenges we were actually given was what do we do with people in sign languages? What do we do with the elders? So the issue of text to speech and speech to text are very, very important. But they can only happen because I can tell you someone from Timbuktu, someone from Toronto are not going to translate into Ndao, into Chewa for us. They are not going to do that. It's you guys and us who can actually go ahead and do that. What scares me, I have got kids who are of varying ages from mid 20s to early teens. The language, hey, my dude, the language is being lost. I've got one of my kids who, if I want to talk about him, I can speak in Shona. Then I can talk. I can talk about him. So he is until he learns his Shona, he is a lost case in terms of what we are talking about. And I'm really challenging you, and I am going to test your Shona in Ndebele when we are actually outside. Let me probably pause there for now, in as far as the various tools which can actually be used. But the bottom line is, yes, we can Google and get the tools, but the tools have to really be built by us. You need to actually jealously say, my go-go who is in Mberengwa over there is not understanding my robotics. How can I make her understand my robotics? By making sure that I can translate what I am saying into simplistic Chikaranga so that she can actually go ahead and understand.
Just a quick follow-up, Doc. I think this has been the major problem in terms of us developing an AI strategy and an AI structure. I think the issue of a repository, do we have enough deposits of this content, especially for our various players? What is your thought as far as our local repository is concerned?
My young son there in the middle, I think he's the one who spoke about the issue of lots of data. Lots of data. I think he spoke about drowning in data when we are actually looking for answers. Yes, the Europeans are drowning in data. Yes, the Americans are drowning in data. Unfortunately, we are drowning in toxic waste in the sense that we have the data, but the data which has not been generated locally. So you really find that when you, if you want to talk about, let's say, cultural values, the cultural values you are going to be getting are the European cultural values. They are the American cultural values. They are the Chinese cultural values, right? You are not going to get the cultural values as they are labeled by this part of the world. Why? It's because we haven't taken the time to put our data into that pool of data which my son was actually talking about over there. And what we need to actually realize for that to happen it cannot be the scientifically minded alone who are actually utilizing that. And I think I was very, very challenged by the Secretary General's remarks, where we are really saying for artificial intelligence to work for us, we all need to get into it, because we want the environmentalists to put the relevant environmental data, talk about the litter in Chegutu and talk about the litter in Mbare, right? We want the cultural people to really put in the cultural aspects into it. We want the sociologists to put in the sociology as per Zimbabwe, which allows me to kick my son when he is actually wrong, rather than the ones by Europeans, which actually says, if I kick my son, I need to get permission from someone who did not produce that son.
Thank you so much, Doc. Doc is also a lecturer, so when you give him a microphone, you need to be closer to him so that you quickly take it back. If you don't do that, you'll give you another lecture for the next one now. But much appreciated, Doc. Just following up on that, I just need to understand how AI can be leveraged to bridge this information gap, ensuring that marginalized communities and those limited with connectivity have access accurate, timely, and relevant information in terms of leveraging on the AI. I think I'll give this question to Nancy, if you can just help us on this issue.
Okay, thank you very much. So the big question is the youth, they mentioned issues of information overload, but now the question is around information gaps. So in terms of the strategies that can be used to narrow the information gaps between the, in this case, I'll talk about urban and rural communities. If we are to look at our context as Zimbabwe, the majority of the population is in Zimbabwe, sorry, in the rural communities. So to leverage on AI, to the young coders, the challenge is perhaps to come up with solutions that do not require internet connection or strong bandwidth, so that we reach out to the remotest communities. Then the next point is around using AI to curate the knowledge. So if you find in most of these platforms, the most difficult information or knowledge to find is knowledge about the country, about our cultures and so on. So we can make use of AI to curate this knowledge so that we bridge the gap. So the information gap here is the gap when it comes to relevance of the information. There's always, there are always complaints about the information is not relevant to our context and so on. So let's make use of AI to curate the knowledge. Then the next point is when we look at information gaps, there are a whole lot of parameters. It's not just the technology, but we also look at the skills. Sometimes the information is there, but if communities don't have the skills, they'll say the information is not there. So let's capacitate our communities with the relevant media and information literacy skills so that they're able to navigate and get the correct information. I quoted this from the youth intervention. Someone who mentioned knowledge is finding what matters when it matters. So here, if you cannot find what matters when it matters, there's an information gap. So let's build the capacities, let's provide the information itself, and also provide the low-cost gadgets and connectivity. Thank you.
Thank you. When I gave you the microphone, I was not told that you are also a lecturer and you're going to be preaching to us. You know, I didn't know you take it from Dr. Apanyongi, but anyway, I'm now cautioned. Let me just do a quick follow-up. Many people today, in terms of AI, I know the biggest issue that many people have been talking about AI is going to come and be very much disruptive. And one of the most disruptive things is going to do, or our biggest scare as far as humans are concerned, is AI is going to be taking up jobs. We are going to be jobless. We are almost getting back into the, the Y2K millennium scare, where we're very much scared of computers coming in, and people are worried about what computers would do in the year 2000. Today, here we are, AI, just at the age of AI. We are worried about the risks and the opportunities that AI is going to be bringing. Are we going to be losing our jobs? Should we be advancing the same instrument that is going to bring disaster to us? I'll forward this to Tendai. Or is it Dr. Tendai Masand?
Thank you, Tonio. Unfortunately, I'm also a lecturer. So hopefully I don't hold on to the microphone. But I'm really, really stoked to be among such intelligent cohort for this conference. I just want to thank the organizers for inviting us for the AI4IA satellite event. So when we talk of the risks and opportunities of AI, AI is not going to take away our jobs. Actually, what is important is we need to reskill and upskill to the extent that those who are able to leverage AI are the ones who are going to be relevant. So it's important, just like Dr. Kwangwa said, to capacitate, especially to capacitate the nation, to even improve ourselves so that we are able to stay relevant. Some of the risks that come with AI, for example, we know that AI, it helps us with automation of repetitive tasks. So most people are afraid that there's going to be some job displacement. But I think what is important is to be able to transition as we leverage AI. Some of the risks that come with AI, it deepens inequalities, just like what Mrs. Chirapa mentioned earlier, and also lack of trust if there's no transparency and accountability. And we also have the risk of cybersecurity threats, as well as intellectual property infringement. So these are some of the risks that come with AI, and also perpetuating the bias. So why is it important for the young people to take part in policy development and also development of AI, so that we can remove this bias? When your voice is heard, when your perspective is also taken into consideration, we do remove this bias. So honestly, I'm so happy to see the youth from the Heritage School here, because you are the future. And just like what Dr. Hapanyengwi said, we would encourage you to actually, first of all, try to solve the problems that we face as Zimbabweans. I'm not sure if we have a sea, but we do have Lake Kariba. So honestly, the work that you're doing is very good, but also try to solve the problems that we face as a nation. Moving on, as I said earlier, that we need to leverage AI. For example, a marketer who uses AI, you're able to create insights, you're able to develop some adverts. So it's possible that you make your work faster so that you can have time to do other duties. So these are some of the opportunities that come with AI. And at the end of the day, we need AI and human collaboration, just like what you said, whereby the most valuable skills are the ones that we should amplify, that AI cannot replicate. So some of the skills that we need to have are critical thinking. At the end of the day, prompt engineering is very important. You need to know what to tell AI so that you can get the answers, like you said. Because if you've experimented with AI, if you ask a general question, it will give you a general answer. But if you tell it exactly what you want, you will get a tailored solution to exactly what you're looking for. And also, we are going to need emotional intelligence, and as well as complex problem solving. And in terms of creativity, I'm about to end. AI is the ultimate collaborator. So these are some of the opportunities. For example, an artist can use AI, maybe a musician, to experiment with fusion of music, or maybe even a screenwriter can use AI to write scripts for it. So at the end of the day, no, AI is not going to replace us. We're not going to lose our jobs, but it's going to be the ultimate collaborator. I'll leave it for now. Thank you.
So I'm seeing a trend here. I think Dr. Alamin set me up when he gave me this panel. He did not tell me that I was going to be dealing with lecturers because they all don't finish when they start to speak. But nevertheless, I think I'm seeing a trend. Very insightful comments that you've just noted there, where we are seeing a lot of usage on AI, and there's always a limit in terms of knowledge and understanding, specifically in countries like us in Zimbabwe, developing countries, where people are saying, but to what extent is this AI bubble going to help us as various Zimbabweans? How are we going to be able to actually implement this and change real impact into other industries, maybe specifically for agriculture? What are we going to be doing to embrace and use AI to actually change what we do each and every single day? I think one of the key issues has been the issue of conserving our various natural resources, managing our water resources and our water bodies. And I also need to understand, in terms of water governance, key national and natural resources, how do you think we can embrace and use AI to actually help us manage and get the best out of it? Let me have this one going to the gentleman, Mr. Webster Gumindoga. But before I give you the microphone, are you a lecturer? Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to withdraw my introduction. The first time when I gave you my introduction, let me formally withdraw it. These are just lecturers.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, I'm a lecturer also from the University of Zimbabwe. But what a joy and pleasure to be joining my learned colleagues here, but also the young minds who are here, and also everyone who is here. Thank you so much. I think it's very important to answer on the question on the environment, natural resources. Indeed, AI is very important. If you look into our let's say water resources, they are facing a threat from the climate change, increased rural urban migration, and also aspects of the land use changes. And so we need to also to leverage AI so that we are able to manage these environmental resources. So specifically on the water resources, I can tell you that we can now leverage, let's say, the use of satellite data that gets into the AI algorithms. So I'm here to just briefly speak about how, if we leverage Earth observation data from the satellites, and then we put into AI algorithms, then we are able to manage our environmental resources. Let me speak about, first of all, let's say rainfall. Nowadays, there are open source satellites that are there to retrieve rainfall information, to inform agriculture, to tell our mothers and our grandmothers in the rural areas, the farmer, those who manage irrigation schemes. So these open data sets can be easily processed, in an AI environment, and algorithms. I'm happy that there are young people here who can play around with the codes. I can tell you that the output is very, very much relevant and very much useful in the agricultural environment, in the natural resource environment, but also even in the urban sphere. Where we are seeing people moving even into peri-urban agriculture, we can provide them with the rainfall information. But I can also quickly go to the rivers, like the stream flows, how much water we get from our dams, from our rivers. All this we can use even to retrieve information from AI, from the satellites, and we find a common platform where these merge to inform the management of our environment. But quickly, because I said I'm a lecturer, I also have got the temptation to play around with the microphone for a long. I'll give you one last example. So you see that the threats that we have. Let's look in Harare here. Our water bodies, they are supplied from Chivero and from Manyame lakes. There's been increased pollution. I think we have you saw a lot of the flora and fauna being threatened. Those hippos that we saw, I think that was early in the year or last year. So we can use artificial intelligence to be able to retrieve the water quality parameters or the pollution parameters in near real time, so that we can be able to avert this problem of the death of fish and hippos and flora and fauna before it happens. So I'm challenging also even the youth who are here, who are into coding, to say that some of the environmental problems, even into cyanide into our water bodies, killing the elephants, etc., we can be able to, using artificial intelligence and satellite data, to be able to predict, to anticipate the problems before they happen, and we are able to, to save the population, the wildlife population, the critical plants, and also even we've seen some the loss of human life. So I'm saying that artificial intelligence together with the satellite products, they can really go a long way in protecting our environment.
Yes, you can clap for the lecturer. Yes. Just a quick follow-up. Most of us, especially the youth and those young boys and girls, when they hear and they talk of AI, I think there's just an impression that we're speaking of ChatGPT. We are creating a system where you just ask questions and it responds back to questions. So, it's like the scope of AI is limited. What would you challenge these youths to do with AI in terms of probably maybe improving and making our environment better? What would you like to see specifically from these youth, maybe working on any AI-related driven solutions that impact and change our environment? Because we know there's ChatGPT, but we need something else much more creative and that speaks to us, our day-to-day lives. Well, what would you recommend to them?
Thank you for the very important question. So indeed, AI is beyond the ChatGPT. ChatGPT is just one of those smaller platforms where you can ask questions, etc. But let me speak to two groups of the youth, the rural youth and the urban youth. Let me start with the rural youth. So we are saying that with AI, there can be those, rural clubs of the youth. They come together, they form those spaces where they are able to get environmental information in near real time, and then they are going to use artificial intelligence as well to be able to look at the hotspots. There can be hotspots in terms of soil erosion. There can be hotspots in terms of the solid waste. There can be hotspots in terms of areas that can experience droughts. So if these youth who are in the rural areas, obviously with low data utilization, obviously with less usage of the internet data, they can be able to form these environmental clubs. By the way, environmental clubs may not only be in the urban spheres, but we're speaking about these youth. Remember in Chimani, in the cyclone Idai, how many remember the lives that we lost? The livestock, the crops and agricultural assets that we lost. Can you imagine if the youth who were in Chimanimani and Chipinge and the other rural areas, if they were able to anticipate the cyclone coming, would have saved lives, would have saved livestock, or would have done a lot of effort to save even the flora and the fauna. Let me move quickly into the urban spheres. In the urban spheres, there's a lot of what is happening. Our streets, they are now like a dumping ground. Our water, which we use, but we are saying, remember that almost every year, every year that we have cholera outbreak. I'm saying that with artificial intelligence, we can also be able to predict even a cholera, event or a cholera disaster before it happens. How do you use AI in that? It's because it depends on also environmental information. Where do you have the clusters of the people populated? Where do you have the low-lying areas? Where do you have the polluted water? All this can also be predicted using geographical information system and satellite data. But in an AI environment, this is so powerful that we can also be able to inform our local authorities to say that in Budiriro, in Glenview, or in Mbare, there's a coming disaster that is coming, that is pending in terms of environmental pollution or in terms of the cholera outbreak. So we're able to save lives. We're able to, with AI actually, we'll even save a lot of money that our national national fiscus or the local authority, they use it to, to solve these disasters when they already happen. So the youth, this is a challenge, both in the rural and also in the urban spheres. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doug. Tendai, let me just quickly put you on the same spot there. As far as these youths are concerned, the role of these young innovators in developing ethical AI solutions. I know it's very easy to come up with very creative solutions as far as technology is concerned, but there's a very key issue in terms of ethics when they're developing and they're running various AI solutions there. What do you think is their role, and what would you rather recommend they do in terms of their role as far as AI is concerned in the ethics area?
Thank you, Tonio. Well, for the youth, I think in terms of they need to learn from us, of course, but you know what Mrs. Chirapa said? She said she now respects you, so I guess your voice is also important. But we need to really jump onto the inclusion bus, just like what Ms. Nisha said. We need to jump on the inclusion bus. We do have algorithms that don't recognize African faces actually. And we also have some of them which, for example, maybe if you Google, if you want to see a picture of a CEO, what comes out is a man. So AI really needs to be inclusive. And when you're talking of ethics, you're talking of the responsible and fair usage of AI. So I think you, the youth, you do really have a voice. You need to claim a stake at the table when these policies are being created. Just like us, what Tonio had said, that we were taking part in the drafting of the AI strategy. So these are some of the aspects that we're taking into consideration, especially the youth and the elderly. It really needs to be inclusive so that we can empower the youth. So how do we empower the youth? AI and ethics should actually be embedded in curricula in all disciplines: sociology, physics, divinity. It needs to be included even in STEM, in the curricula. And then also we need to create sandboxes for innovation. You, the youth, you need to experiment, you need to fail, you need to learn, you need to unlearn. So these sandboxes, the government needs to really support. We also need to have some hackathons, incubators, as well as innovation hubs that are focused on solving African problems and problems that we have as Zimbabwe, as I said earlier. And then, for example, we can use AI for drought-resistant crop analysis. We can use it also for diagnosing local diseases or even preserving indigenous languages and also preserving indigenous knowledge. So I think it's very important to include the youth in terms of ethics, ethical considerations, policy development, so that it becomes all-inclusive. Thank you.
Thank you. At least this one was a bit faster, quicker, and you went straight to the point. You came out of the virtual classroom. I appreciate. Thank you so much. You are a fast learner, as you are so used to making others learn. So I appreciate that. Let me just make a follow-up on that. We are speaking a lot on these issues of ethics. There's a lot of information and content is going out every now and then. In terms of information integrity, who guards this? How do you safeguard this? Especially in this day of AI, issues of information integrity, I think they're very core. We don't know exactly what kind of information to trust, how do we authenticate this information, and almost everyone is creating information, and AI is also digging up this information. Freddy, what are some issues of information integrity? Your quick thoughts on this one, Doug?
Okay, thank you very much. So while AI democratizes access to information, it also presents some risks when it comes to information integrity. When we look at information integrity, we're looking at the accuracy of the information, the consistency in which information is presented. But AI can be misused to create deep fakes, to create misinformation that then threatens information integrity. I want to give an example to say part of the work that we do, we work with underserved communities where traditional leaders are the sources of information, and in some instances are the ones who have the gadgets and internet connection. So there could be a message, suppose, around projections of the rains. For example, recently the Met Department communicated that we're going to have late rains, right? And then by the time this information gets to certain communities, it will be distorted. It will be something else, which means the integrity of the information has been affected. And when we look at some of the data that is already in these AI systems, it's not updated. It provides information to say the onset of the rain season in Zimbabwe is around September, but the Met Department is projecting to say the rains are coming a bit later. So if someone is using that tool to look for information, they are likely to get information that is not correct. So to ensure that our communities, we maintain information integrity in this age of AI, firstly, I would say let's have intergenerational dialogues around AI use for information access. Instead of having conversations with young people, there was mentioned by Ms. Nisha to say we often forget our elderly communities. Why not have intergenerational dialogue so that there's that exchange of knowledge? Because the elderly, they have rich indigenous knowledge, they have experience. The youngsters, they're so fast, the technology, there's that diffusion of knowledge. And then the other aspect is to come up with community-based interventions. One size does not fit all if we are to maintain information integrity, because our communities, in terms of design, some they are information rich, some communities they're information poor. So we need to be alive to the realities of different communities and come up with context-specific solutions. And then lastly, I would say let's have community-based fact checkers. Instead of just relying on technology, let's have people on the ground to say, where did you find this? So as someone who's in academia, always we ask questions to the room, not to answer right now, but can we say AI is a source of information?
I guess someone will have to answer that, Q&A. Oh, it's an assignment. Okay, interesting one. I think you speak very well into this very, very key issues. I think we face these issues each and every single day, specifically us as the media, where we are worried about content creation, and content propagation. The content that some of us and our members also peddle at times becomes questionable, at times it's also misleading, and people get to wonder exactly who is the source of that information, where are you getting that kind of information, how do we then sanitize this information, because ultimately AI is an algorithm. It just runs news because of what is gathering and what has been trending within certain areas. So I think it becomes a big problem and poses a very big risk for those people who could be ignorant as far as facts are concerned, because there's a lot of fact checking, there's a lot of double checking, and confirmation of these various news sources. Let me just bring you in, Baba Teacher. You are not forgotten. I know as a key lecturer, I was giving you a breather after the long lecture that you've given us there. Your views on this very key issue, content creation in the age of AI. I know this is our arena also as the chairperson of the online content creators. We do this every day for a living. What is your thought on this very key area, and more importantly, how do we turn the narrative upside down in this age of AI and content creation?
We are talking in terms of artificial intelligence, but there's a flip side to the issue. Whenever you talk of intelligence, the flip side is what? Stupidity, right? So So when we are using artificial intelligence, we should not be stupid. Because the moment we use it stupidly, then we are going to produce things which are actually stupid. One of the challenges I want to actually pose to all of us, if we look, let's say, from the, because content is relative. If you were to ask me my opinion of a specific event, it depends on what my grounding is all about, right? And it also depends on to what extent I then respect specific backgrounds. I'll give you a simplistic example. If we are looking in terms of rain patterns, let's say within the country, as much as we will depend on, let's say, the information which comes from the satellites, etc., and the patterns from there. When I was growing up and walking around in the bushes with my grandfather, he would actually tell you that when this type of tree buds in this time of the month, then you are sure that the rainfall is going to be fantastic. And he would actually tell you that if we see migratory birds in September, that's trouble. He would actually tell you all that. So capturing all that indigenous system, so that when we are talking in terms of, independent of what content you are actually talking about, when we are talking in terms of the quality of the information, there has to almost always be triangulation, where you cannot depend on one source. Just because Donald Trump has said this, you need to actually then go ahead and say, who is an anti-Donald Trump? What are they saying? For me to then say what the truth is all about. So the issue of the sources and the diversity of the sources. And for you in the media, diversity of the source, if you get something from CNN and you get something from BBC and you get something from Australia News, it's the same source. Because all of them, I think, they come from, is it Reuters, where they would actually have gotten the news. But if you probably then go in and say, maybe let me do a bit of Al Jazeera, maybe let me do a bit of the opinion of the other broadcasters, let's say, within this part of the world. So that issue of triangulation, and then, so we can utilize AI to say, what is the real source of what I am actually having over here. AI can really drill down for us to say, what is the initial basic truth for any information which you are actually having. But as we're actually saying that, the issue of us putting in sufficient of our data, sufficient of our information, sufficient of our ways of doing things, even the nature of the algorithms. The nature of the algorithms, are you doing deep search? Are you doing breadth first search? Are you doing deep first search? Whatever you are actually doing depends on the setting, the cultural setting in some sense of how you are actually doing that. So the more we actually then put in our own content online, the more the truth can actually go ahead and come out. I was just, and then I'll pause. You know, I was just looking at a situation which is happening. I stay in the Westgate area. There is some company which is building next to what we all know is a stream, and they are doing some structure over there. It's obviously going to be interfering with the water tables where I'm actually coming from. But until someone comes in and does probably an analysis using AI, an analysis to prove that what they are actually doing, my grandchildren are going to suffer, because where we have actually built a house, there is not going to be water a couple of decades from now. Then, so that when we are talking in terms of the authorities, so that the authorities are informed, not just to say, let's not do it in wetlands, because that has been disrespected. But if we then show that these are the actual effects of building into wetlands by doing specific algorithmic designs, which actually then prove to say long term, this is exactly what is actually going to happen. So the issue of the source and actually affecting the narrative is actually important for us.
Right, passionate to deliver the Doc, much appreciated. I think let me just get this opportunity to open up the floor to all of us here. If we may have a quick rebuttal, add-ons, any questions that you may be having here to our panelists, we can just give you an opportunity to ask. If you don't have any question to ask, I'll just give you a microphone so that you tell me about something else that I think you should be telling me. Okay, so these guys are here to save you real quick. If I have enough hands, you'll survive. If I have not have enough hands, trust me, I'm your next visitor. Charity begins at home, I guess.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for the detailed presentations. But probably it's a question which I want to pose to the House to say, if you look at AI, there are issues to do with moral issues, social issues, issues to do with probably even legal issues. So my question is, to what extent then should AI be regulated?
To what extent should AI be regulated? Who's taking this one? Babatija. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. So there are two issues of morals and the legal bit. So I'll address on the moral side. Yesterday, myself and Dr. Apanyungu at this big conference where we, with the Minister of Primary and Secondary Education, and there were issues of morals and use of AI in education. So I would say ethics begin with the individuals. AI cannot be ethical. It's us who use and design the systems who are supposed to be ethical. We cannot say this AI tool is not ethical because the ethics within the system, they can go as far as the designer of that system. And when it comes to regulations of AI, yeah, it's a tricky one because it goes beyond borders. Sometimes local or regional laws might not apply to certain certain situations. And if we are to look at our local context, personally, I would say AI has outpaced the existing laws. There's a need to amend, to update so many laws that are existing. Thank you.
There are two levels at which you can participate in artificial intelligence. You can be a user, of which we are 99.999%, or you can be the owner of AI, where we are actually really involved in the algorithms, in the designs. We can pick our niche of what we want to actually go ahead and do. So at the moment, as long as 99.999% is coming from somewhere else, regulations for this part of the world will actually be totally meaningless, because it's almost like I've always said, when you sign up to Gmail, for instance, maybe I am one of the very few people who really read through all of those conditions for Gmail. When I signed in Gmail, I actually read before I said I accept. I still accepted, but I read to actually know, to really understand the consequences. And so when I get adverts which are associated with the content of my email, I'm not surprised, because Gmail, they read the content of the mail. That's why they actually then send you adverts which are relevant to you, because you said I agree to them reading through your emails. So until we are really involved in this AI thing, when I look at my sons and daughters over there, I am actually challenging them, because I mean the other one is a lost generation. I'm actually challenging to say we need to really be involved. We want that deep fake, that deep seek, that deep whatever over here for us to really be involved in the nuts and bolts of artificial intelligence, because that is the only way we can we can survive. Otherwise, the laws and regulations, you cannot go ahead and regulate something which you are not involved in, because they'll just laugh you off. What regulation do you want on Gmail? What regulation do you want on DeepSeek? Then we actually just laugh you off, because you're just a minute in terms of the consequences if they actually don't follow those regulations. One of my passionate things is about when we were at this conference yesterday, we really spoke about the value system, the fact that our value system is totally different from the European value system. We all know that. Individualistic versus our community actually based. But when we are using these environments, they are so individualistic, because that's the nature of the people who have actually built them. So if we want to really have even our values preserved, then we need to be involved in the actual work of artificial intelligence, not this usage of artificial intelligence, which we are happily debating, of course, because we have to actually debate something.
Okay, I'll cross over the bridge once it's done. You see, there's one colleague that I personally have a lot of respect within our media sector, and this gentleman has never said a thing and is not raising his hand. I know you lead by example. Brother from another mother, Mr. Kabila.
Thanks, Tonio, and you just made a mistake by giving me this mic. I'm not just a lecturer. I am a disruptor. First of all, thank you very much for the presentations and bringing the young people here. And I'm so glad that in this room, there are researchers, there are training institutions, because I think this is the base for how Zimbabwe can actually move forward. We start from education. But I am kind of disappointed. I'll tell you why. Because first of all, I would like to talk about 3 points here. I think, Dr. Apanyeng, you have started the conversation now about why we are debating AI and even developing a strategy, an AI strategy in Zimbabwe, with all these challenges that we are facing. Let me disrupt the young people here. AI is taking jobs. AI is replacing humans. Just a few statistics. Microsoft this year has laid off 6,000 people to give way to AI. HP, Dell actually 12,000, for your information. And by the way, I got this from AI. Google, 200 at the time. We have PwC 1,500, Meta 5%, and to give room to AI. Research, look out for the layoffs. They are coming. But it's not all doom and gloom. AI also creates other jobs. So that's what we should be talking to each other about. Let's not lie to each other to say AI is not taking jobs. Zim Papers right now is going to lay off. Watch this space, because it has created a digital newsroom. No, it's not a headline, please. Okay, having said that, I will touch on data sets because we are discussing AI here. And I like the point you made about data sets. I would like to know what training institutions are actually doing. I haven't had sight of the policy, the strategy that is being developed, but I'm really interested in what are we doing about data sets, because this is where the touch point is. If we don't have local data sets, forget about benefiting rural communities. Forget about it. By the way, the people who built AI, they don't know what it means to go without running water. They don't know what it means to not have sanitation. They don't know what it means to not be able to pay school fees. So when they are developing this, it's for profits. It's not for developing Africa. So if we don't take note of that, then I think it's a rat race that we are discussing here. I would rather, if I had the authority in Zimbabwe, I would rather develop a digital infrastructures strategy, not an AI. One day we woke up and there was no Twitter. There was X. I'm always challenging young people in my family to say, if you're going online, buying data to follow someone and not to create content, then one day you're going to wake up and those people you're following are not there. And yes, use social media for creating money if you can. But don't rely solely on it, because one day someone is going to pull away Facebook. And where will we be? So let's talk about developing backbones, developing digital infrastructures that suit Africa, that suit Zimbabwe. And not, we are talking here about, we are talking about localizing, adaptation, inclusion. Of what? Of whose property? Right now we are trying to assist media houses to adapt to AI. And they are saying, you know what? We use proprietary open source tools that are cheaper, because proprietary ones, we can't afford them. We can't subscribe for a whole year. It's expensive for us. So if we are not seeing what Strive Masiwa is trying to do in Africa to develop digital infrastructures, our own. I went to America last year and I was asked, it was like a social media related workshop or sorts. So I was asked by certain students about which social media tools originate from your country. Are there any? Which ones are originating from Africa or from your country? And it was a light bulb moment. And they were genuine. They had never seen people from Zimbabwe. But they were asking, well, are there any? So, because they are young people, they are trying to explore. Young people here, they are our greatest resource. These young people, the interest they have in coding, we need to tap it and help them to say, we can develop our own here. Use these tools to develop local infrastructure. So that one day, if somebody then decides to withdraw ChatGPT, we are not left stuck. And these young people, we are doing a disservice because we are saying, adapt, regulate, follow this, follow that. You teachers, please tell them the truth about what is important to address our own pollution here, to address our own lack of electricity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Simbi. So quite profound. I think we should not only be worried about what the future will do to our data, because I think quite a number of examples have already been said. Today, we are actually live broadcasting this on Facebook. What has Facebook announced? It's announced that after 60 days, it's doing an automatic deletion. All of our content is already being deleted. If you ask the old Madaras, especially that men there in white beards and Dr. Apanyengwe, they used to use MySpace and they used to date their girlfriends there. Ask them what happened to their content. The MySpace is already gone. You can't find it anywhere else. I know also YouTube, what's this? I just keep in mind many of these very old platforms which we used to rely on after MySpace. We thought that they were going to be there for a very long time, but these are platforms that we used, and they all just went into deletion, and none of us can actually get back our data. I know we also had some certain live streaming channels that we used to use way back before Facebook and YouTube Live was there. They also went just into automatic deletion, and no one can actually give us back our data. But this is content that we've been creating for many years, and we've failed to actually have a local repository. I think that's a very powerful issue that you've mentioned this episode. So thank you for that. I think we'll also take it back to you, gentlemen and ladies. You are doing a very key, important issue in terms of the national AI policy too. What are we doing? I'm sure motivating and making sure that we actually have something for our own. Chinese have done their own WhatsApp. You don't find them on Twitter. You don't find them on Facebook. They've got their own platforms. And at least they have some sort of control should anything happen. Now they've got their own TikTok and they've taken over the whole world. I think it's very key and important. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. My name is Epson, and the last speaker was talking about localizing technology and artificial intelligence. So I would like to say something. I believe that everybody in this room knows it. We do have genius young people in Zimbabwe. Some of them are there. But then just imagine, do you think these young people are going to stay in Zimbabwe when the time comes after they graduate, maybe after they are now in the tertiary institutions and everything? They are not going to stay, right? It's not a problem. We understand. Even India is losing most of its people to some other countries. So how do we combat such an issue? We cannot develop our economy in 7 days or 24 hours. So I think I believe that the people in here have the capacity to create a panacea to this problem. How do we do it? Let's train more people. Let's capacitate more young people, even those that are in the communities that are maybe backward, in the ghettos and whatnot. So I believe that if we train more young people, if we equip more young people with the knowledge and the skills that are needed, at least maybe, just maybe, we might have a chance to have at least a few or a couple of young people who will stay behind and try to indigenize and try to work around. Because as it stands right now, we don't have the capacity to house these young people. We don't have even institutions that can pay them competitively compared to other countries and whatnot. So I believe we should increase capacitation and we should reach everyone. Because I was at Bindra University of Science Education, right? But then you would realize that we don't even have programs like the one that they have at Heritage, and Heritage is not even a university. So the problem is quite huge, and we have the people who can help. I mean, we have someone from Zimche, we have the president, the Internet Society, we have civic leaders, we have lecturers. So I believe we should not just end in speaking. Let's work, let's capacitate young people. Thank you.
Yes, you can clap, please. Is that the hand up? Are you sure you're not going to be saying the same thing? I saw you looking into his notes.
Good morning. Is it morning? It's afternoon. I'm Pauline from World Food Program. I want to give hope to what she was saying. For us as World Food Program, we have a resilience building component in our programs, and part of that we are also launching a youth leadership program. And as part of that again, we managed to link up with Toyota Japan, and they have a local relationship with Pegara, which is based here in Zimbabwe, and we managed to link with students from the University of Zimbabwe that are actually developing solutions. And for us, because we are more of we look at two of the SDGs partnerships and zero hunger, and we picked the ones that we felt were relevant to our SDGs, and for that we identified students that came up with solutions that would cater for some of the things that are like what all these were speaking of, things that are real, what the Zimbabweans are going through. And one of our strategies and what we plan to then do with these solutions is to monetize the solutions so that these students in the end can actually get like they can monetize their products. How do we do that? So we need to have partnerships with the private sector, and we come up with solutions that are relevant to the economy, that are relevant to the needs. So one of some of the products that they are designing and developing have to do with agriculture, how people can use their applications to determine different sicknesses that probably their broilers would have. This is like for urban resilience building projects where many people are doing chicken projects, yeah, you know. So it's something, it's not like it's not happening. So it's just to give hope that it's possible to use the artificial intelligence. And when you look at this, it's more of machine learning. So it's telling the algorithms and feeding them with information that is relevant to the types of diseases that are found in Zimbabwe, and not, you know, when you go on the internet, you find an application which will help you, like when you take a photo of a leaf, it will tell you is this disease, but will the diseases be relevant to our environment? So it's working also with the Ministry of Lands so that we also get a database of what are the types of diseases that are relevant to our environment and to this part of Africa. Thank you.
Thank you. I will cross over soon. Please let me just indulge to this side, and then once I get a passport, I'll cross over to the next side of the country.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rutendo, founder of CBIMTER Innovation Hub. So basically, we do digital literacy trainings. That is basic digital training, your smartphones, your computers, and now we introduce AI literacy. So my question is to my learned panel. I'm actually having a difficulty in convincing people to do their trainings, even if they are for free. Why? Because people think it's a no-brainer. I don't know how to use a smartphone. I don't know how to use a computer. Even if you do community outreach programs, I think people are, can I say, shy or scared, or maybe afraid of being labeled. They don't know how to use their gadgets. So even if you try to reach out to other organizations who you know they are in need of this training or rather upskilling, right? The gate will be shut down. So I don't know how best can I go about it. Maybe I'm missing something, but I know it's a skill that is needed. And once you have a one-on-one conversation with someone, that's when they are now able to tell you, I'm not able to use my phone, please help me. Are you able to do private classes? Are you able to do ABCD? So how best can one go about spreading awareness of digital literacy? Because it will also help in one person understanding how AI works and how it functions. Thank you.
Very key there. She spoke of curating and creating the content, making sure that we create our own local repository, very rich. But I think the fundamental also goes to the digital literacy. Are our people informed, and how do we train and make sure that we don't leave anyone behind in terms of the basic training? I think too many times we take it for granted, and very key. Quick take. Baba teacher, I would deliberately skip you on this one.
I wanted to say it takes time. You have to be very patient. Issues to do with the digital literacy. So when now it comes to artificial intelligence, I come from an engineering faculty at the University of Zimbabwe. We have also introduced AI, but it takes time, even with the learned. They say, teach engineering ne AI, you know. So it takes time. I think my colleagues would understand that there's a generation, and maybe let me say the Dr. Apanyengwe's generation is more resistant than the younger generation, even of the lecturers. So if it happens, the lecturers, can you imagine just in the generic audience. But we have to be patient. Sometimes we tell them that there's disadvantages. Sometimes, you know, you have to be patient with them. Then you see the results over a long period of time. But don't give up. Slowly, slowly. Rome was not built.
Thank you. I'd like to purchase Dr. Gumindaga's point also. I just wanted to find out if you have managed to explore collaborating maybe with the government, because they are having some of these initiatives for have you approached? Who have you approached? Okay, no. I just wanted to encourage you to ride on the government initiatives, yeah.
And I was actually waiting for a call with TJ meeting, right? And then when I then went for another meeting with them, they're like, no, we can actually take you in. You work for us.
Okay.
We give you the resources. And I'm saying, I have the resources. I managed to acquire the laptops needed, right? But I want to make use of some of the premises that you have around Zimbabwe. Because the problem in the rural communities, because I move around underserved communities, is because they don't have infrastructure. I mean, I don't have infrastructure to train in terms of housing, but I do have the resources that I need to equip them with.
Ah.
So they now wanted to rope me in as one of the players.
Okay.
Use me to. So.
Yeah, but I think collaboration is good. But I guess what Dr. Gumindoka said, you also need to be patient, yeah, and just still try to break the ceiling, because Zimbabwe is a very big country, and I think you will make it.
Yes. My response will be very short. What I would suggest that you do, first do a research of what people need to learn. Let me give you an example. For example, entrepreneurship now is on the rise in Zimbabwe, right? So don't focus on training, digital training or AI training. Invite people to learn on how to use ICT, how to use their phones to manage their businesses. So people will come there because they want to do business, right? Because that's what they are looking for, that's what they need, that's what they want to survive. And in the process, you train them now on digital skills. So digital skills become a part of what they need. So I think you should take that approach, in my opinion. With this gentleman from Buzz, he has access to 14 common radio stations in Zimbabwe. That would be a very good starting point.
Okay, thank you. I want to quickly respond to Ms. Simbiso's questions and concerns regarding AI strategy versus national digital infrastructure strategy. Just a sneak peek to say your concerns are addressed in the draft strategy. To say the focus of this strategy is more localized sovereignty around data, the infrastructure, and so on. So just to give you hope that all these aspects are being taken care of. And then to Ms. Rutendo, regarding the digital literacy programming and people are not interested. I want to share with you that at some point I worked in Washington, D.C. and at an organization that was working towards promoting digital inclusion. And I was surprised to know that in the US, there are people who do not know how to type and all these things. They faced challenges like this. The workshops were there, the stipends and everything was provided, but still people didn't want to attend. So what strategy did they use? They looked at the end goal to say, once you have trained people, what's next? So what? What does it mean to their income? So they created a pathway. Instead of just saying, just to add on to what Almin has said, I'm training you on smartphone usage, and then it ends there. It has to be an end goal with a dollar sign to say you increase your income by 2% or by an additional $1 and so on. But you need to do research again to say if someone is effectively making use of their smartphone to promote their business online, what is it likely to impact on their income? And then when you're selling this program, you're not just saying it's smartphone literacy, but you're now saying you're going to increase your income by 50%. Who will come when there is money? Thank you.
All right, we'll try and integrate technical crew. I understand we have also guys online. Some of them, they are bombarding my inbox. So if you can give us audio from the guys who are joining us online so that maybe they can also shout one or two. Because I know we also have a huge audience that's watching us online. So, Nick, if you can just give us sound from the online community just before I cross over to this other side. You was up. Okay? We good? Aisha, you ready?
Thank you for giving me the mic before I asked for it. So just to add to the issue around low participation and low uptake even of AI-related solutions, whether they are in the training or it's the actual AI, it brings us back to the conversation around addressing also the foundational aspects. Our solutions should be in such a way that you are also addressing the key enablers and also the barriers. What are the fears that are there? Are people also afraid of technology-assisted violence? Are people also afraid of data theft and other components? So in addition to tying our solutions to everyday bread and butter issues, so that we are using AI to address the everyday issues that we have, we also need to address the underlying issues. What are the barriers? What are the key enablers in our solutions? Thank you.
All right. Greetings. So these are the elders amongst us. So you can't just pass them. You need to make sure that, again, yes.
Right. It's really great to be here and great to have the opportunity to speak. And first of all, I'd like to address the kids that we have here, right? First of all, recognizing Mrs. Alizia, because I think we just didn't recognize the fact that she's the only girl in a team of boys. So let's just clap for her. And I think it's really great to just encourage more girls to really get into STEM, to get into technology. Coding is not just for boys, and it's actually quite a creative sport that girls can actually get involved in. So well done for that. And then the rest of the team, everybody. Today you have been challenged multiple times by Dr. Habanyangwi. He's been challenging you guys, saying you guys are developing a solution for oceans, and we're in Zimbabwe, we don't have an ocean, right? Don't be discouraged, right? Keep going. And why do I say this? I want you guys to use what you guys are learning from what you're doing with the ocean research as a foundation for implementing a solution that could work in Zimbabwe. Because you need to start from somewhere. I think we heard that Rome isn't built in one day. So start by learning using what you have accessible. It's easy to find information about oceans because lots of people in the Western world are tackling probably the same problems you guys are doing. But it's harder to do it in Zimbabwe, right? But it's possible. And why do I say that? Because you could possibly even use me as an example. I started off by playing around with my code and learning about creating a chatbot, learning about creating a weather forecasting system, but nothing was really relevant to Zim. It was like, oh, creating a general chatbot. And then I asked myself, okay, how can I make this chatbot more applicable to Zimbabwe? Because if you go Komusha, nobody's going to speak English. Most of the people are going to be speaking Shona. So if you try to give them a chatbot to use, they'll be saying, okay, what am I doing, right? So I said, okay, let me use what I learned from the general chatbots, and I built a chatbot that speaks both English and speaks Shona. And not only that, it also works via SMS, meaning you don't need internet. So I think even the commentators have been talking about how we don't have infrastructure in Zimbabwe, we need to be working on infrastructure. You know, we could actually work with what we have existing right now. Right? So instead of looking for solutions that are working in America, in Canada, say, okay, this is what we have. What can we do with this? So I think I'd like to bounce back that challenge, right? And ask Dr. Havanyangwi, how can we encourage our youth to develop culturally relevant solutions to solve challenges in Zimbabwe? Because it's easy to nag them and keep saying, oh, you guys are not thinking about Zimbabwe, this is not relevant to Zimbabwe. But how is it in our curriculum at school? How are we teaching them, okay, these are the challenges we have in Zimbabwe, how can we solve that? So I'd like to ask you, maybe you can give us your point of wisdom on how the youth can move forward. Thank you.
Since this one was already directed to Baba Tisha, you know, I've been trying so much to make sure that you don't get back this microphone. So maybe you up the message. So yeah, you win this time around.
I was sitting next to her. She didn't ask any tough questions. Then I move away from her. Now she is asking tough questions. You know, that question is, to me, it's a very fundamental question. Let me tell you why I'm saying that. Obviously, it's clear that quite a number of our examples in our institutions are not local examples, right? So obviously we need to, first of all, do that. But why are they not? Partly because when local solutions are done by local people, the uptake is not there. So the appetite for the uptake of solutions which are produced by our young people has to truly be there. I grew up in the era of when Japan was China, if you get what I'm saying, where we were saying, when you are saying Xinjiang, we also had a name for the Japanese products, because at that time that's where they were. But they were resilient. They consumed what they ate, or they ate what they produced, no matter how terrible it was. And here is where they are, right? And we need to actually do exactly the same thing. We can come in and say, whatever solution Heritage School is going to produce on accounting package is the one which has to be adopted by all SMEs, independent of how terrible it might actually be, in terms of not probably fundamentally meeting, as long as it fundamentally meets the double entry, etc., etc. We need to actually have the whole ecosystem encouraging for the local solutions to then be adopted. Not that we go in, preach the issue of let's have local solutions, and then when you turn, when you are now in Mzarabani and you want a local solution, you are getting something which is coming from China, something which is coming from wherever it is actually coming from. So the pretense should actually stop for all of us. One, in us really having examples in our universities and in our schools which are relevant, but us rewarding that entrepreneurship or that solutions by adopting those specific solutions. Because I am sure, whatever they, I am sure, because I've also been involved in global competitions, I am sure whatever they are going to produce for the sea is going to be adopted by someone else. But if they were going to probably produce it for Lake Chivero, we'll probably start asking you, Uvelanga, mfowethu, where do you come from? And we actually start asking you, who are you to produce the solution when I haven't actually told you that there is a problem? And by that time, you will actually probably be frustrated. So the whole ecosystem has to really, to me, even the AI strategy we are actually talking about here, there is actually the issue of the adoption of the solutions which we are going to be producing. And that ecosystem from a governance point of view, from an uptake point of view, from the articulation of what is the problem which is actually there, that whole ecosystem has to actually be there so that we don't even also just have solutions which are actually not going to be taken up. It's a task and a half. That's why I'm actually saying she shouldn't have asked me when I'm this far away from her. For someone who was actually sitting next to her for a good 30 minutes, then hey, lunch, let's do lunch together.
A little press with time here. How many hands do I have? I have this hand, I have that hand. Then I'm going straight to the online community, okay?
Thank you so much. I'll address this to the lecturers. My worry is, or my question rather is, how has AI disrupted the education system? I've been a student before, and I know that students can be the laziest people to ever exist. Given an opportunity, they would just take whatever is coming from Copilot or whatever generative AI tool they can use. Are our lecturers always using these AI detection tools such that we are certain that it is not Copilot who is graduating, but rather is the actual student? Or better yet, because now you are finding that these AI detection system tools can also be questioned. Someone can actually, I've read of stories where someone will say, the AI detection tool determined that I used AI, but I never did use AI for my essay. So now are we teaching our educators? Are we giving them an eye to be able to see that, this content is AI generated? I think back to she mentioned deep fakes. How many people are able to determine that this is an AI generated image just by looking at it? Are we teaching our lecturers to be able to determine that this is AI generated work, such that at the end of the year, it is not Copilot who is graduating?
Thank you so much for that question. I think it's a work in progress because it's a very difficult task for us lecturers. Essentially what we can do is maybe just to change how we assess. I'll just give you an example of what I was told during a conference. I think it was by Professor Mutambara. He said that when the calculator was first introduced, people were very surprised, they were shocked, and they wanted to find out now how is it going to happen, like when you're doing mathematics, 1 + 1, and then when you use a calculator, you just get the answer. So they posed the same question as you did. But what happened now with lecturers is they didn't ask the question just like traditional, like what is 1 + 1? They would now just change it, like maybe John goes to the shop, he buys 2 eggs, and then he does that like in a composition kind of way. So then the student now would need to think. So this is what we would do with AI. I think this is a strategy that we can use. We change the way we assess, especially maybe during examinations or during assignments, so that at the end of the day, it's not AI that you'll be marking. Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to just quickly respond. I think our education system, it has moved to what we now call Education 5.0, which now focus also on innovation and industrialization. So we are no longer focusing on just regurgitating stuff or to recall. Because once we are now doing assignments that focusing on just the recall, then that's a trouble. Trouble for the students and trouble for the lecturer and trouble for the nation. So we're now focusing on what are the innovations, what are the goods, what are the outputs, what are the tangible things that can come, irrespective of what discipline, whether it's history, whether it's engineering, whether it's literature. So once we focus on what are the innovations that can change or improve our lives, and then we can now run away from this, taking AI stuff and then you just put it as an assignment. But of course, practically, just giving an assignment becomes a challenge. We do even the test and also asking students come up with a practical, like what these guys from the heritage, they're actually aware ahead of us in terms of what they are doing. So that's the mentality that we now have to say, what is the tangible outcome, so that we don't have students who are just taking AI output and present as an assignment. Thank you.
Okay, just to quickly add in terms of how institutions are responding, there are capacity building programs where for lecturers and students as well. There are AI literacy programs, media and information literacy programs that are becoming mandatory, so that when they are interacting with AI, they are clear in terms of the guidelines, the limitations, and so on. And then lastly, to add on to the question that was asked earlier regarding what's being done to support the young innovators to solve the local problems. If we check at policy level, recently the government introduced the heritage-based education system from primary up to university level. So it's up to us, everyone, it's everyone's responsibility to ensure that we don't complain as additional work, because as parents and guardians will say, oh, these projects, they're creating additional work, but that's where when the innovative mind is being nurtured. Thank you.
Right. Before I just go back to the online ones, Simbiso says you did not do justice to the question in terms of the data sets issues. She says we're not very clear there on exactly what we are doing to make sure that we fix that issue. Clear? Sorry, we have an online community which can't hear you now.
Sorry, my question to the training institutions is what are the practical steps that you are taking to ensure that data sets are getting online, local data sets, because as I was saying earlier, that if we are not intentional, if we are not deliberate, nothing will happen. But there is a great resource in students in trying to make sure that the data. So what are the institutions doing currently, right now, to ensure that we have local data sets online? Zimbabwe is one of the most offline country. If you search for information about Zimbabwe, just about Zimbabwe, it's offline. Most of it is offline in these big institutions and offices. What we have more is social media content by influencers. And this is why you get very silly responses from ChatGPT when you ask about. I'm telling you, if some of the responses that you get online when you ask about Zimbabwe, it's because it's coming from Madam Boss or whatever, which is really not the real Zimbabwe that we were talking about. So what are institutions doing? Because I think this is where the resources are. Schools, universities, colleges, take time, make it part of the curriculum to make sure that they are the ones that are curating local language.
All right, so Dr. Habanyang, just to let you know that if you check on your right side, food is now finally come here. So whatever you do, make it fast, okay?
I think it's a bit of a chicken and egg type of thing. One, obviously, there is non-ambiguous encouragement for people not to hold on to their data sets, because once upon a time, your data set, when you did the data set, it was part of your treasure trove. But obviously, with the setting in of AI, that has actually changed a bit. But there's another side of the problem which needs also intervention. Creating data sets is expensive. It's not cheap. So we need a concerted effort by local organizations to invest in the creation of local data sets. Because if lecturer A is sitting at University B in Zimbabwe, then he or she needs to feed baby A, B, C, D in the house, and then probably C and D outside the house. And for them to do that, they will actually sell their soul to the devil by actually creating data sets for external people who are actually paying for them. So everyone has to come to the party. I think is the theme which we need to continue having, that everyone has to really come to the party. One, the people who produce the data sets, but also the people who have to fund the creation of those specific data sets.
I'd just like to add on to what Dr. Apanyangwi said. Thank you, Doctor. I think also we need to intentionally bolster our infrastructure, as you said, because we need to localize, we need to build data centers so that we can keep this data, because you cannot just be creating data sets and then where are you going to save all this data? And then also in terms of institutions, it's very important. Like I heard Dr. Gomindoga, you said you just recently introduced AI. Yeah, also us at our institution, we also recently introduced AI. So it's important to have, data scientists to introduce these courses so that you can train the students to be able to also be able to create these data sets. So I think, honestly, even the government, so it's really the efforts of the government as well as the institutions to support each other in terms of creating these data sets. Yeah, that's what I have to say.
Okay, just to quickly share our intervention at institutional level at the Women's University in Africa. Recently, we developed an institutional policy on research data management, and a sneak peek into this policy is as researchers are doing research, particularly that research that is supported by the university, in addition to the article, they also need to present the data set in ethical formats, of course. So we are working towards having an institutional data repository, and this repository is mostly with research data. Thank you.
Okay, I guess that answers it, so that we quickly migrate to our online audience. Dr. Mandizhidza, if you can hear me, please just turn on your microphone and your camera so that we can have you on the screen for your quick reaction there. You have your attention, and then I've got 2-3 other questions. But if you need to actually say these questions live, please, you can just go ahead, switch on your microphone and your video so that we know you're on the queue. Or more importantly, just raise your hand so we know exactly whom you're going to. Dr. Mandizhidza, I hope you can hear me, and please, you can take the mic.
What concrete steps must Zimbabwe
Thank you so much, the Dr. Amandi Ridza, for that. I don't know, do you have any quick intervention from our panelists, or we should straight to the next question? Okay. You know you're sitting between us and lunch. Okay.
Thank you for that question, Doc. I just wanted to say that Zimbabwe is making deliberate efforts with the Cyber and Data Protection Act, as well as the promulgation of that act and the data protection officers. I think we have some in this room, I hope. The whole country is being told to train and also to register with Portras. So I think it's making efforts towards the data sovereignty. So honestly, it's making efforts towards data sovereignty. And as I said earlier, we also have the Universal Services Fund, I think, under Portras. They're also they've also come up with an institution that is also going to be taking care of the localizing Zimbabwe's data. So I just wanted you to know that something is happening, and very soon, I guess, we are going to be having these dotted around the country, our own data centers. Thank you.
All right, so I'll jump straight into two comments that have been given here by my colleague Allegra, who've been working with. So whatever that I'm going to be reading here is not my thoughts, but the comments of those that are watching online, specifically given to me by Allegra. And there's a reason why there's this disclaimer. Lawrence Poperi says, I strongly feel that human capital flight from Zim to other countries should not be seen as a threat, but an opportunity for the nation to enhance diaspora remittances. Countries like Cuba have been benefiting a lot through labor export. For instance, in medicine, what we need to do is to develop more AI experts across the country, experts than the country needs. That way we can have human capital to meet our local needs while we're also exploiting the diaspora remittances. I think I do agree with that one. Thank you so much for that, Lawrence. You're joining us live on our online platform via Zoom there. You are a bit camera shy. You thought to just send this, so I understand. I appreciate. Energy Musani says, AI is doing a great job, but I think we need more content creators from home so that we share our own unique story about our own culture. More needs to be done to have our own content researches uploaded on the internet abundance. These are the two comments that I've received straight there from my colleague Allegra. And the third comment says, Tonio, please be fast. Food is already ready. You're taking too much time. I think it's about time, so I'm just listening to these instructions. Ladies and gentlemen, I do thank you so much for your contribution, your efforts, your input towards this. Please, let's give a round of applause to our moderators. Very distinguished men and women who have been doing a lot in the background of our ICT policy, ICT infrastructure, and more importantly, the AI framework that's going to be launched in the next couple of weeks. We do appreciate you, and thank you so much for your valid input. All of you have been greatly contributing to this very important AI4IA event, the satellite that we're hosting here for Zimbabwe. And it's been so much great pleasure to have all of you joining us live. To those who are also joining us straight from the online community, it is so much of our pleasure. We do thank you for your contribution, and more importantly, sharing and moving this content all across the Zimbabwean border. So we do appreciate it. My name is Tonio. From me and the crew behind the scene, as always, please let's have a prayer before we just cut this. I know with an opening one, can you have a closing one, just so that we have standards? I'll look for someone who has a face yakafita kunamata tikamshaya. You see, I have a friend from the commission. You see, the Zimbabwe Media Commission has a duty to regulate us as the media practitioners. It is the third eye that makes sure that we are not doing what we shouldn't be doing, and when we do what we do, they call us at times in the middle of the night and they say, stop what you're doing, we're watching you. So yeah, this is what they do, but they're not like those guys. So here and there, they also get to. she is from the Zimbabwe Media Commission. These are the people who call us needlessly. And you see, she's also abusing me right now. My young brother, please take it away.
Good afternoon. As you could see, I have been burning for quite a while to speak. So I think it started with, wait, let me get my paper out. Okay, let's see. I think it was Tendai. Let's see. Yeah, Tendai. Now, Ma'am Tendai spoke about upscaling our jobs for AI to adapt for the AI system. Now, the issue here is, despite speaking about that, that's what we should do. We didn't exactly talk about how we should do it. As I have noticed that, especially the older people, apologies, they struggle with coming to learn, as it was stated earlier that some refuse as they may feel embarrassed. And then my second point was on the education system, on how students have been using AI, and I agree with that. And again, we spoke about innovating new ways to do it, but I would like to make a suggestion that maybe, especially for universities and other schools, we could implement a system of continuous assessment where we give the students continuous work to do, and also work during the term, not just as homework, but to check if they actually understood the topic in class, so that you know whether they use the AI for homework or not. And then what was the last one? Oh yeah, the prayer, my mistake. Okay, let us pray. Okay, dear Heavenly Father, thank you for today, yesterday, and the day before. Thank you for providing us with everything we need and having protecting us from evil and nightmares. Thank you for helping us do what needs to be done and allowing us all to come to this conference and solve the issues in which we've been facing. I pray we are able to return home and face them, and also implement the solutions in which we've discussed. And also, I pray for your forgiveness for the sins you have committed, and that you may help this country grow, be it gradual or steep in growth. Lord, may you also lead us away from temptations and allow us and deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. May you bless this food to our bodies. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, this calls for the end of this AI4AI satellite session that we have been having here for Zimbabwe region. We are now going to break for lunch. May I please ask the guys on my right side to first depart the seat. You go out through that way, and then you turn left for your lunch. And then the rest of the crew, you can follow them after that. With that, this is all I have to say. Thank you.